But first, you're not going to see me here again. Well, not for a couple of months. So I better explain, no, I haven't quit, haven't been sacked. You can forget all those rumours over the next 8-9 weeks. I will be back next year. But it is true that I told you early this year I was going, but eventually I got talked out of it. Now, I don't think I owe you an explanation for all that. I'm not that arrogant, not that unmissable. But something's happened that did make me think a lot of people don't understand how the media works, and it might be good for us all if I said something about it. The sort of things that were going through my mind, the sort of pressures. I particularly don't understand how this media works, Sky and the Murdoch media, or maybe just how I work. Now, I have been used to critics particularly from the left, for years, oh, you just write what your bosses say, what Rupert Murdoch says. And that's what people like Kevin Rudd, the very bitter and very failed former Prime Minister, is now saying, you know, demanding a royal commission into Murdoch media, that somehow people like me, and specifically me, some say, that we get a memo or a wink from Rupert, or maybe we just guess what's in the boss's mind and we write or say exactly what he wants. Now, for a start, I've got to say, that's never happened. Never happened. I mean, I really like Rupert Murdoch a lot. He used to come out here more often than he does now, and we'd catch up, and I really enjoyed his company. He loves a good goss. But I have to say, people say, oh, well, you would say that, you know, that he wouldn't give you orders, and he hasn't, never has. You would say that. Well, let's look at some facts. Fact one, a decade ago, Rupert Murdoch was saying, let's give the planet the benefit of the doubt, you know, global warming and all that. And back then, Malcolm Turnbull, who's now attacking Rupert Murdoch as a climate denier, he was a Liberal leader. That was the first time. They sacked him once, didn't learn their lesson, appointed him, had to sack him again. In his first gig as Liberal leader, Malcolm Turnbull was saying, treat Rupert Murdoch as the guru. He was saying, like, Rupert Murdoch is a hard-headed, naturally sceptical person, I think, as we all know. And he said, you've got to give the planet the benefit of the doubt. And he wanted us all to do the same. And even global warming alarmist Tim Flannery was quoting him back then. Give the planet the benefit of the doubt. The Sydney Morning Herald was noting that you know, terrible me, I was refusing to toe what it was taking as the company line, not falling into line with what Rupert was saying. How often do I have to say it? That's not how News Limited works, or News Corp, or Sky, or the Herald Sun that I write for, the Daily Telegraph, or the Courier Mail. It's certainly not how I work. Now, I have to say to you, and you know it, I sometimes get things wrong, sometimes say things I regret, and I sure did early this year, and apologise to you for that. But the thing is, I am free to call things as I see them. And whatever my faults, if I wasn't free to call things as I see them, I would not be here. And that's not just a boast, it's how it is. In fact, I once remember I was stopped from writing some stuff briefly, and I down tools for a couple of days. It was in the papers, you could check it up. And I was almost out the door, and we sorted things out. That's how it is. Political pressures, a bit like the ones going on News Limited now. And the beauty of Sky News is that is the deal, right here. And I think Sky proved it in spades this year, this very difficult year for us all. 2 words, George Pell. Now, I said to my family at the beginning of this year, I want 2 things to happen in 2020 and I'll be satisfied. This is before the virus came and stuffed it up for us all. I would have added a third had I known that. 2 things. 1, that Cardinal George Pell is found innocent. And 2, that Donald Trump is re-elected. As you know, I only got 1 out of the 2. But for me, personally, it was the most important one. Because as I told my wife back then, if the High Court says George Pell is guilty, indeed guilty, of child sexual abuse, it would turn down his appeal, I'd have resigned from Sky. I would have felt too shattered, and I would have felt guilty at having let Sky down. Because here's the thing. Every time that I did a piece here to show that George Pell was innocent, to prove to you that once you look at the evidence, he could not possibly have raped those two boys at once in an open room straight after a mass, the crime that he was jailed for until the High Court stepped in. Every time I made that case, Sky News was punished. The ABC attacked. Vigilante groups like Mad Effing Witches threatened our advertisers. It was a scandal. Some advertisers panicked. I can't say I blame them, but I can't say I respect them either. Some panicked and dumped us. And in the end, I don't know whether you noticed, I had one show run where we did not run a single ad to protect our advertisers from the abuse and the threats because I was talking about George Pell. That costs, you know. And I'm sure there were people on this station who thought, what's Andrew doing? Some probably thought, Pell, he must be guilty, and here's Andrew defending a pedophile and costing us huge money and our reputation. But do you know something? Not once did my bosses here, Paul Whitaker, Mark Calvert, or their bosses, Michael Miller, Rupert himself, not once did any of them say or suggest, stop, shut up, think of the money we're losing. Although I did think of that myself. I couldn't sleep some nights feeling so guilty. Because for a station like Sky, no ads means no money for wages. It's not like the ABC here. You know, the ABC can run what the hell they like. The taxpayers still give them $1 billion a year. You, me, we all, $1 billion a year. And yet even so, with that safety net, not a single journalist there did what Sky did. Not a single one spoke up and said, wait, George Pell, he can't be guilty. Look at the evidence. Not one. That's why Sky is so important. It dares. It dares and puts its future on the line every single night. And that's why you are so important, all of you, because you have paid to watch us. And because of that, your money helps to keep us on air. And that's why our advertisers, they're so important too, the ones that defied all the threats of these anonymous online activists to destroy their businesses if they kept advertising here. Those advertisers stayed true. As you can tell, they weren't driven out of businesses. These activists are a lot of talk and not much action. They don't have that much money. They're sitting in their underwear and the couches tweeting about Sky News. You really think they're, taking these international cruises or shopping for, well, not anymore, no one's taking them, or shopping at Harvey Norman. Harvey Norman. I now make a point of shopping there for the reason that they specifically defied that abuse and stayed true and helped to keep us on air. Now, having said that, it's not just people on the left who say, oh, that memo from Rupert, that went out, and that's why Bolt now says what he says about Trump. That is, that he was cheated of an election win. Now, once again, like I say to the people of the left, Bolt got a memo about this or that, global war. If it's a memo, then other people on Sky didn't get it. Philip Adams of the left, Susie O'Brien of the left, David Pemberton of the left, Graham Richardson here on Sky, or Stephen Conroy. They didn't get it. Somehow only I get the memo. I mean, give us a break. But now I've get the same line from viewers on the right, now saying the same. Got the memo. Won't say that Trump was cheated out of election win. Like Fox News, they got the memo. The bosses told me give up on Donald Trump. Tell him to quit. Don't agree with this crazy idea that he was robbed of the election by voting fraud. And you should see the emails I'm getting every single day and all the conspiracy theories. Makes you wonder how much rationality is out there. But again, it doesn't work like that. Not at Sky, not in the Murdoch media. If there's a memo about Trump, then why didn't Alan Jones get one? Why didn't Rowan Dean get one? Because they've been very strong on Trump being robbed. I take a very different view, of course. I'm saying has been cheating, but not enough to switch the election. There's a debate here on Sky. Wow. And again, my view costs. Cost me, cost Sky. You look at Alan's videos on Trump being cheated, they're going nuclear, gangbusters, hundreds of thousands of views, 1 million, more, some of them. That's real money. People really want to hear that Trump was not beaten but cheated. But I'm getting meanwhile threats. I'm never going to watch you again. Switch off. You've lost me. You've wimped it. Now, it would be so good for me and Sky to say Trump had this election stolen from him. See, the real pressure on us, and this is where so many people get it wrong, in the media business. The pressure's not really from our bosses, the memo from Rupert. The real pressure is from you, from you. If we don't please you, that's it. The pressure of the ratings every day, I can't tell you. I'm so looking forward to not having that. I mean, the ratings have been fantastic this year, best ever, but still, the pressure. But the thing is, here on Sky, and with me, and I'm sorry to rabbit on like this, but my last one of the year, and I want you to know where I'm coming from, where I think I'm coming from. You might think this is arrogant, whatever. I want you to know where I'm coming from. Here on Sky, and with me, there's ultimately an even greater pressure. And I know that people like Alan and Rowan and Peter, they all feel it too. It is the pressure to be true to ourselves, to say what we think, no matter the cost. I know it sounds corny, I know it sounds like spin, I know it sounds like self-praise, an advertising line, a boast. But I think that this year, of all years, must tell you it's true. Even our enemies, and I don't know why our enemies keep watching my show, I hear from those guys too, even they must know in their heart of hearts, we speak as we find. We might not always have it right, but we speak as we find. That's true here on Sky, it's true with me. I may sometimes disappoint you with what I say. I hope more often I please you, and thank you so much for all the support you've given me this year. I so treasure it, even if I can't respond to every one of the texts. I really do. I may sometimes disappoint a few of you with what I say, but I'm even more frightened of disappointing myself. So all I can say is when I say it, you know I believe it. And I hope that counts for something with you. And I hope too that you, like me, will be back here next year, 7 p.m. But on with the rest of the show.